Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and welcome to This Week in WoW for the week of February 18th. Before we get started, let's shout out the Patreon subscribers. We have Mario Casillas, Rep Pally Rocks, Nick Rada, and Peter Burnham. Thank you guys so much for the support. Appreciate it a lot. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in the game this week. Not a ton to talk about, so we're going to actually take this as an opportunity to do a little bit of house cleaning, mentioning some other things about what's going to be going on in the channel after we talk about the few things that are going on. We do have Timewalking going on. This is Cataclysm Timewalking. Continues the whole Timewalking thing. Obviously nowadays Timewalking is like every single week, whereas it used to be more of a rare thing. But you can obviously do that and take part in the rewards for that. We have PvP Brawl Shadow Pen Showdown going on as well. And then later on in the week, towards the end of the week, we do have the hatching of the hippogriffs. This isn't a very big thing. Maybe they'll add something to it at some point. It's like a little RP type thing or something like that. I did it once and it was fine, but nothing big there. We have, of course, Love is in the Air ending. I'd mentioned last week I did get the rocket. We also obviously had the Lunar Festival already ending last week. But so we're out of the holidays now, and we are getting close to, of course, Patch Day, which will be next week, which we will talk all about the patch. Other things that happened this past week, we had the finals of the TGP. This is always something I always like to watch. This was not one of the more engaging ones for me, but Mandatory did win. It was a pretty good ending. There were some outside chances that a couple other teams had a chance to actually sneak and win it, so it was a little bit close at the end. But they did win. At the same time, they won pretty decisively. So the TGP finished up for Season 1. My big feedback on the TGP is it's much better to have this at the beginning or middle of a season and not at the end, because nobody cares about these dungeons at this point. Nobody wants to run Misatirna Scythe anymore, right? So when the dungeon pool is fresh and new, there's a lot more opportunity for some interest there, in my opinion. We had Ian Hazakostas, I don't even know what his role is anymore. He's like one of the head WoW guys. He did like a little interview. There wasn't anything too telling in there, but just kind of like reflecting on, how big World of Warcraft still is in this modern day and age, and the impact of things, and the ability to like work with different groups or foundations and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of an interesting interview. I didn't see it get talked about very much because there wasn't like a ton of gameplay stuff in it. There was no like hints at things coming and stuff like that. So that was a little interview. I thought it was interesting, but not really something for this channel, especially to talk about. Nothing like big in game talked about whatsoever. Just kind of more if you're a fan of World of Warcraft, you might enjoy it. Other than that, there just was not a ton going on. There hasn't been too many changes going on. They did put out some of the final patch notes, but they're really just the culmination of all the stuff that has been put out already. Almost nothing new was in it at all. None for Rep Paladin specifically. So that came out as well. I imagine we'll have like the full patch notes, probably maybe even today. But today or next week, of course, when it actually comes out. And so yeah, we'll have that. Like I said, not a ton to talk about. All the holidays are over. All that stuff's over. So we are kind of waiting for patch node. Now, for a very large portion of people who watch the channel, and I get comments about this, when is the Rep Paladin guide going to come out? Are you still doing guides? Yes. Trust me, I wish there was more content to do for Rep Paladin stuff all the time. Like the highlight time for me making Rep Paladin content was during the rework in Dragonflight. Oh, this feedback on this, feedback on that, feedback on this. This is how this works. This is how this works. That was great. There was not a ton of stuff changing for Rat during this patch. Pretty much everything from my original guide is still true at the very last day of patch. There's like a couple things that changed, but they're so small and unnecessary, I would say, that I didn't need to like do a follow-up video for it or anything. And so I will, of course, be doing a guide for 11.1. I usually put it out the week of the raid comes out. So it comes out next week, the 25th, but the raid doesn't come out until March. So it'll probably come out in March. That being said, if I'm completely sure about everything before that, then maybe it'll come out a little bit before that. I just like to be sure. I don't like putting stuff out and be like, Because, like, you could just go with the consensus. The reality is you could go with the consensus and be like, well, I thought it, everybody thought it, so I got it wrong, but everybody got it wrong, so it's okay. I don't think that's okay. Honestly, I like to just test stuff myself because I don't like I don't know how to write like the coding and stuff for the SimCraft and stuff like that. I have to wait till it goes live, right? So when it goes live next week, then all of a sudden everything's in the files, on the active files, and I can simulate everything myself too. So not only am I testing it on the PTR, but I want to simulate the stuff myself. I want to simulate it for the times that I want to simulate it for, and try it out myself. And most of the time that ends up concluding what other people are getting, but sometimes it doesn't. And then I like to highlight things that I find different than other people too, because that gives a little extra value. Like, hey, you might be getting something here that you're not getting somewhere else. So I like to just kind of put it in my own hands, basically. So starting next week, so for the rest of this week, I'll pretty much be on the PTR. I already have a general sense of how everything's going to work for the next patch, but I'll be on the PTR testing a few more things out, messing a little bit more with Herald AoE versus Templar AoE, specifically for Mythic Plus. I'll be messing around with some stuff in there, and seeing how close it is actually now, because there's some things that are going to make it a lot closer than what most people are saying it is, right? They're like, oh yeah, it's closer, but Templar's still way better. It becomes basically this weird thing where like people just like Templar more, so like Herald, if Herald's like 1% worse, they just say it's way worse. It's like this weird thing. I don't know. I don't get into that stuff. Like, man, the last place I want in politics is in my World of Warcraft. That's just me. But like, that's what it basically turned into. I remember it in Shadowlands where everyone wanted Ashen Hollow to be the best thing for Ret, and it wasn't. It was always going to be Kyrian with Divine Toll. And look, we still have Divine Toll. It was always going to be Kyrian, and I stuck with it. Didn't matter. People call me stupid and stuff like that, and I'd rather just be right is at the end of the day. So yeah, so I'll be on the PTR all this week, messing around mostly with AoE stuff. Single target stuff's probably pretty much set already. And then on next week on the patch date, I will be going through and simulating everything that I want to know about. So I'll be simulating every trinket. I'll be simulating, just everything that I'm curious about myself. And from there, I'll have data. I'll have my own testing. I'll have my own data. I'll compare that to other people's data. And then I'll have a consensus and be able to make a guide on that. Now, if literally nothing is changed and everything looks like it's ready and to go, then maybe on the 27th or 28th, I put out the guide. But if not, I'll wait. If I'm like, basically what happens is I'm getting some result that's really different than what the consensus is getting. And if I'm a little bit worried about it, there's times where I've done that and been like, no, I think I'm right. But if I'm worried about it or unsure about it, I'll wait until the raid comes out just to see it in action, right? Just to see what it's like in actual principle instead of in like testing or whatever, right? So that's where I am on that. And that's kind of my mindset, how I think about everything. Basically, I just try to be correct. When I started making Ret Paladin content, I didn't even know the Ret Paladin was a popular spec. I was literally trying to find Ret Paladin video myself. There was no good ones on how to play it. I found a written guide, the Wowhead guide, which was actually really good. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make something close to this written guide, but for videos, where it's like 99% correct or 100% correct, and not just my opinion about it. And so I've started from that first principle, and I've just kind of refined it over time. And that's kind of like where my mindset is on the Ret Paladin content. So hopefully there'll be lots more stuff to talk about this patch. I don't necessarily think there will be unless we get some kind of changes. But yeah, definitely we'll at least have a guide. I'm going to do a PvE guide like normal. I might do a specific Mythic Plus guide. That's something I've been trying to do. So Mythic Plus specific, not just like AoE and Raid. This is specifically for Mythic Plus. And then I might even do a Delve guide. I tried to do a little bit of Delve stuff at last patch, but I didn't go fully into it enough, and I didn't take into account how many people are actually doing Delves. It ends up being way more than I thought. And so I thought I was making Delve videos for people who are like Mythic Raiders, and so it's like, hey, there's not a lot to say, but there's people that are doing Delves that are normally doing like world quests, and they could actually use like real thoughtful and helpful things. And so I might do that as well, at least from a Ret Paladin POV, like a Ret Paladin delve guide or something. And I might just do one for each delve or something even. So it's definitely something that I'm thinking about. Other than that, like I said, it's gonna be, this video is just a bunch of house cleaning, just kind of talking about the Ret Paladin stuff, because I know I haven't had an opportunity to do much Ret Paladin content, and that's what most of you are subscribed for to the channel, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you watching the other videos and stuff too, because I try to do other stuff. But you know, it's going to be a new patch, so we'll have Ret Paladin stuff to do. This is my last week. I really would like to get like a decent parse on Silken Court. I can't seem to stay alive in that fight. Just somebody randomly touches me, or even on our first kill, I screwed up. I randomly touched another person and killed them towards the end of the fight. And I would love to get like a decent parse on that boss to finish out this tier. So this week will be my last chance to do that. So I'll be trying to do that. Overall, I'm fine with my performance, to be honest. Like, good amount of orange parses and stuff, but I definitely could have done a little bit better. But at the same time, those last bosses, when you only get to kill them a couple times, it's hard, because you know, you die both times. You know, you die 2 of the 3 times that you even kill it, and then the other one's like a really flubbed kill as well. You know, and you only have 3 total kills. It's hard. It can be really difficult. But yeah, I definitely wish I could have done maybe a little bit better on some of the other bosses. But I still have one more. I still have a chance to pick up a couple of them that I know I can for sure. So yeah, that's it for this one. A lot of Ret Paladin talk, which is probably a good thing to most of you. One more thing. I'm still waiting. I think this is worth mentioning, because this is something I check every day. I'm still waiting for the dev who did the Fell Cycle secret, right? Fell Cycle. So if you were on my channel from the secret finding stuff, Fell Cycle, I'm still waiting for the dev to do his post-mortem. He's calling it. He's going to do a write-up of all of his takeaways from the Fell Cycle secret. I will be reviewing that and giving feedback myself for the Fell Cycle secret whenever that comes out. It's been, maybe it'll never come out. So it's been like over a month, or however long it's been, maybe 2 months. I can't remember since he said he was going to do it. But when that does come out, I will be circling back to the Fell Cycle, giving feedback and reviewing his own feedback. And I want to wait, because he might already, I don't want to sit there and lecture somebody on something that they already know needs to be improved or whatever. So that's the other thing that I check every day. So that'll be it for this one, guys. Thank you all for the support, by the way. Everybody who supports the channel already with subscribing and stuff. It's been really slow lately. There hasn't been anything to talk about, hardly anything to make videos about. But I appreciate all you guys very, very much. If you're not subscribed, if you're new, I do appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And then to the subscribers, if you want to check out the Patreon, you can even check it out for free and stuff like that as well. I encourage you to do so. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.